Good evening, all. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is Monday, April 14th. I don't know why I was about to say the 12th. It's the 14th, though. We got another jam-packed show in store for you tonight. We'll recap Notre Dame's blue gold game. Rory McIlroy finally completed the Grand Slam. We're going to get back to our favorite segment entitled, Hey, Scott, you were right again. And we'll do that and much more here on Coach's Corner.
Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Just remember what Ron Hecklinski said today. And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good.
Coach's Corner with Heck and King is proudly presented to you by Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance, On Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, Frick's Driving School of Mishawaka, and the Harbor Group Planned Wealth down in Anderson. Before we get started, make sure and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment in the chat. Now, here's Heck and King.
Right on, man. I am so excited. Pat King made it back from Mexico.
I did.
Didn't drink the water.
He didn't drink the water. He drank a hell of a lot of tequila. He didn't get shot on the property there. They're walking around with Uzis, right?
Well, yeah, sure. They were
AKs?
AK somethings.
AK-47s?
Yeah, or 50. What was the 15, Scott? What's a 15R or something?
Well, I mean, do you want to have a dissertation on guns? I can give you a dissertation on guns.
It doesn't matter. They had massive weaponry.
I was safe.
So how much weed did you see there? Did you see a lot of weed?
No, none.
Did you smell a lot of weed?
None. No.
Seriously?
No, not any.
Man, what you're telling me?
Distilled alcohol.
So what you're telling me is there was no cartel influence at your place.
Not that I saw. Nothing visible.
That means they're doing a good job.
It means they're doing a great job.
Nothing visible.
And that means you were very smart in not leaving the campus, right?
Exactly. We didn't venture too far away. But we had a good time. It was great. My wife still likes me that I know of. She actually sat with me on the plane. So
here's what I'm going to say to you. A week's vacation with you and the lovely Miss Becky King. Your wife loves you once again. And that love will stay with you for about another week. A week to 10 days?
If things go well this week, I just have to just stay away from her.
No, I'm so happy for you because when my wife and I when we'll go to Florida together and have no children with us, it's just a great time to kick back and just there's nothing. I mean, there's no phones, there's nothing, and it's just kind of a time to maybe get a favorite book and read. As a matter of fact, Scott, I am going to order that book that you sent me, and you sent the cover to me. What it sounds like a great book. Talk about that for a minute.
Oh man, I didn't know I was giving a book report here real quick. Impromptu.
Yes.
So basically, long story short, guy goes to Mississippi State, plays baseball down there, hits a Grand Slam in the College World Series, and then his dreams of playing Major League Baseball kind of flamed out. And in the meantime, he was a convert like I am to Catholicism.
But he was a convict? What did you get convicted of? A convert. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're going to work on those hearing aids that Jimmy Shannon was talking about, by the way.
I was convicted of excessive piety.
Okay, go ahead.
And he had converted to the Catholic Church and became a priest after his dreams of playing Major League Baseball kind of flamed out. And then one thing led to another. He ended up as the Cubs chaplain, and then the first year of him as the full-time chaplain there, the Cubs somehow came back from a 3-1 deficit and won the World Series.
Well, and we can't say this about the Cubs, but we can sure, because we're sitting in the beautiful Linebacker.
Yeah.
We
are back
off of Notre Dame's campus by about 100 feet. The Linebacker is amazing. And whenever I'm in here and we talk about Notre Dame, we can say God made Notre Dame number one.
Sure we can.
And
except in football.
Even though we don't know the chaplain or whoever the priest is, but the Cubs can't say God made Chicago number one.
Right. And by the way, we do have some seminary people that usually show up about 7:30 or 8
They
here
do.
tonight to listen to the end of our show. So
yeah, they have meetings at Monroe Seminary, and I feel a little ashamed every time I see them, because when I was maybe 17 or 18 years old, Monroe Seminary had great racquetball courts.
So you used to be able, you can play basketball. They got a nice basketball
and a great
court
basketball court.
in there.
And somehow, me and a couple of my compadres, we found the code to break into the gym and the racquetball courts, and we would play racquetball there all the time and hoops there all the time. Never got busted, but my renewed faith, my renewed spirit. Every time I see him, I have that. You know,
a little guilty.
That little guilty conscious feeling that, hey, man, I feel bad about doing this. And I tried to confess that to God, and he said, everything's cool, man.
I say the good thing is you can go to church on Sunday and take care of all that, right?
I can go to confession. Scott knows what confession is. And if I truly repent and I'm sorry, then God will take our sins away. And it's a great thing about our church. But anyway,
thanks for joining the Coach's Catholic Corner here on the podcast.
I digress. But what's the name of that book, Scott?
It's called A Grand Slam for God.
Oh, no, I hope my wife is listening, because I want her to order that book off of Amazon, Grand Slam for God. And it sounds like it's just a great human interest story, right?
I'm thinking that'd be
and it's not terribly long either.
That'd be a great
if you were
Mother's Day
really
present.
dedicated to it, you could read it in a day.
Yeah, so I could give it to my wife and then I could read it.
That'd be a great Mother's Day present.
Great Mother's Day gift. You're 100% right. But hey, anyway, this sets up to be a really cool show tonight. The Fighting Irish had their blue gold game on Saturday. From what I was told about the bottom section, the whole bottom section was filled.
That clear your throat.
And it's just a beautiful, I mean, it was a beautiful day, sunshiny. The week, Pat, that you chose to take off to Mexico was a great week for you to do that, because the weather here was awful.
I heard it was not very good.
And Saturday we had sunshine, we had beautiful weather. I got some leaves taken care of in my house, but we're going to have the great Allison Hayes, who covers Notre Dame athletics, and she will give us the rundown. And obviously, I think at this point in time, everybody wants to know, and the main question will be, and hopefully Allison can shed some light on this for us, who's going to be the QB?
Yeah, and she may not know either. She may just have the same opinions we have.
Yeah,
but she was there at the game, and we're hoping maybe she has a little bit of inside information.
Yeah, and I think the inside information, and I'll share my thoughts with her, will always be about the portal and which quarterback Notre Dame will say, and they won't say this now, but which quarterback Notre Dame would be comfortable losing in the portal.
Right.
Because that's essentially what will happen. Notre Dame will choose QB number 1, QB number 2, and whoever QB number 3 is will portal out. And that could change if Steve Angeli turns out to be QB number 2.
Right.
If Steve is QB number 2 and he's already going to graduate from Notre Dame, he'll portal out. I mean, if he has that inkling to compete and play.
Right. If he's not number 1, I think it's he's leaving.
Yeah, and I think
we'll talk more about that with Alice.
Yes, and she will know. I do know that Mishawaka's favorite son, Justin Fisher, got about 20 snaps at tight end in the blue gold game, and we'll talk about the format of the blue gold game, which is simply not a game. Right. It's offense against defense and points awarded.
Right, exactly. So, all right, let's change. Yesterday was a big deal in the golf world.
Oh, man.
That was a must-see TV event. I mean, the hype for it was off the charts. That was, for people that are casual golf fans, I mean, that was a day that they had a chance to sit there and watch. And it was exciting, because I think to the casual golfer, they saw that the good players make the same mistakes we do.
Yeah, without question.
By the way, who did you pick last week
on this very show, with Scott King listening, with the great Johnny B. Good listening, and with you listening, and you picking Scott Scheffler. So did Johnny B. Good,
and I picked Cantley as my dark horse.
Yeah, and Cantley, I'm not sure he made the cut, but Ronnie Hecklinski picked Rory McIlroy.
So did I.
And Scott King did too. So you two get the participation trophy.
Hold on. I have a leg up though.
Okay,
because I also picked Florida when the rest of the panel picked Houston.
Is that so? That's your tiebreaker.
Yeah, okay. So I win, and so we gotta bring out the segment. Scott, you were right. Everybody say it. Scott, you were right.
I have no question saying Scott, you're right. And I have no question sending you a T-shirt.
There you go.
Saying that Scott was right.
Scott was right.
I'll expense it.
Or as I tell this story often, when I go to Florida or if I were to go to Mexico, I would have ran the beach because I always do that. Mm-hmm. Just every day, a couple, 3 miles down the beach. Mexico, you can't do that because you don't know if you're going to get picked off on the way back or not. In Florida, you can. So I'm running the beach one day a couple years ago, and there's this guy, and years ago we would refer to this guy as a hippie. Mm-hmm. And, the guy hadn't showered for like 2 months, hadn't had a haircut for 6 years, had a beard, was nasty. It's 90 degrees out. He's got holy long ratty jeans on.
Now it sounds like you're just downtown Seattle.
Well, no, and it could be that I'm down on Tohei Lane where I live. I don't know, but I'm running by the guy and I notice his shirt, and it's my all-time favorite shirt. It says "Rehab is for quitters."
Oh, gee.
Rehab is for, and obviously the guy needed rehab, but he surmised that why.
Right.
Rehab is for quitters. So I'm going to find that Rehab is for quitters shirt, Scott, and send you for number one, not only, picking Rory McIlroy and breaking the tie with me by choosing Florida.
There you go.
But that golf, that Masters was amazing. And I didn't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that the 11th try for Rory McIlroy to try and get his Grand Slam of winning every major event?
Yes. It was 11 years ago since he won. I can't remember what was.
It was the 2014 PGA that we were at.
Okay. Oh, we were there, weren't we, at Valhalla?
We were.
Oh, my. They finished it in the dark. I forgot all about that. Good for us.
That's kind of like we were at Peyton Manning's last game as a Colt.
Oh, gee, I didn't know that either.
You know what? And
I was at Elvis Presley's last concert.
And Scott.
And I know where Jimmy Hoffa is.
Oh, gee.
And don't take this with any negativity, but I tell Pat this all the time. You can't hide money. I mean, you're at all these major events. The last ones, Elvis, the tickets had to be 100,000. You're at Peyton Manning's last game. You're at Rory McIlroy's last major. You can't hide money. And I say, good for you.
Good. I'm happy about that. The one thing I am happy about was Sunday I was home where I could actually understand what the people were saying on TV, because for a week I was watching TV on Spanish station. We had no American stations down there. So I watched almost
like you're in their country.
You would have thought I was in Mexico or something. But
hola, ¿qué tal? Benito, ¿cómo estás?
Exactly, that's what I said. I knew Benito
or
out. Yeah, I could say cerveza and baño. I got that much. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, everything was in Spanish. So I had basically just turned it down and got on my phone out and got on Sirius Radio Channel 92. Last week, Monday night, I'd watched the basketball game. I just turned the sound down, but I'm used to having the sound down in my basement.
Yeah, anyway. About a 10-second delay though, isn't it?
And then in Spanish it was great. It was ESPN Deporte. So I turned that down, got on Sirius Radio, listened to PJ Carlissimo and Robbie Hummel on the radio. But like you said, it was a 7 second delay. So it was down and back, and they were still calling timeout. So they were coming out of the huddle as they were, going to commercial on the radio. So it was nice to hear things in English yesterday.
Okay, so let's go back to the Masters, and here's a point that I want to bring up. I mean, Rory actually played really well. Justin Rose kind of started the tournament off in great fashion and led for a couple of days. Played really, really well, and then Bryson DeChambeau puts on a charge, and now on the final day, it's Rory and Bryson playing together.
Yes. And that was who played each other last year when McIlroy missed the putt and ended up losing to DeChambeau. And what was it, the PGA, Scott, or the U.S. Open? I can't remember.
It was the U.S. Open.
I think it was the U.S. Open in July. So there was a lot of a lot of different monkeys on his back, so to speak.
Yeah, and so he starts off on Sunday with a double bogey. He's got a 3-shot lead right off the jump, right when they start, or maybe a 2-shot lead heading into Sunday. He double bogeys the first hole. There's a 2-shot swing.
Right.
DeChambeau
actually led.
is either tied or led.
I think he led after the third hole, but that lasted maybe one hole.
Yeah, and then another 2-shot swing with McIlroy taking that over, and then Rory McIlroy's playing well the whole day, not actually making birdies, but making pars left and right with a couple of birdies sprinkled in.
And DeChambeau was having some trouble. He was like 3 or 4 over. But tell me about and with hole, was it 13?
13.
He's up what?
He's up
shots.
3. He's up 3.
3 or 4.
He's up 3 shots.
That was huge.
On 13, and now he goes into safe mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear the commentator saying, well, he's not going to pull out his driver. He's going to pull out his 3-wood. Mm-hmm. His second shot, he's not going to go for the green. He's just going to lay up.
I think he hit 7-iron.
Yeah, and so and my point being, on hole 17, okay. On hole 13, you're still playing the golf tournament.
Right.
I mean, nothing's guaranteed. And as I say that, he goes on to double bogey, and Justin Rose catches him then,
right,
ties him, and I think the remarkable thing,
maybe a half a hole, Justin Rose was actually the leader.
Yeah, and I think the remarkable thing about McIlroy is then that he was able to regain his composure. If that would have been me, I might have thrown a club in the lake or whatever. But again, it's just, and we talked about this. It's the same thing when you're playing any other sport. When you're playing a basketball game, and 6 minutes left in the game, you go into let's not play to win mode. Let's play not to lose mode.
Or football when you start running the ball to run the clock.
Yeah. And to run the clock and not worrying about getting first downs.
Right.
And saying we're a great defensive team. Let my defense win it. Mm-hmm. Well, how's that go when there's so many games that come down to the wire then? But that was my feeling on 13 when McIlroy went into that mode, that safe mode.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought that, but I certainly did.
Well, and what happened was, instead of hitting driver 4-wood or whatever he was and trying to go for the green and 2 on a par 5, which they had done previously, he played it safe like you or I would have. Driver, layup, wedge in, hopefully get a 2-putt and a par.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but he turns around, worst case scenario, his third shot's like he's 110 out, and he flares it off to the right, and it rolls in the water. So instead of being in the water on his second shot, he's in the water on his third shot.
Yeah, and so who are we to try and talk about Rory McIlroy, who's just a tremendous professional golfer? But that just goes to show you that the mistakes that they can make in those scenarios. Yeah. And again, it's happened to me. It's happened to me when I've got into that mode as a coach, and with 5 minutes left, I'm up 7, and I'm saying, boys, let's go. Let's run this out a little bit, take some time. Well, then before you know it, the other team steals the ball, makes it 3. Now you're up 4. And so now as a coach, you're saying, well, do we go back and play? Well, no, let's hold it. We held it a minute ago, so let's hold it again. Now you turn it over and they go down and score. Now it's a 2-point game. Mm-hmm. And now you got to go back and play regularly again.
Yep, now you got to play. But,
so,
they had great for McIlroy. I mean, the leaderboard was just loaded. McIlroy, Rose, Patrick Reed, Scheffler, Sungjae M. You had a mixture of live players and a mixture of PGA players. DeChambeau ended up tied for 5th place.
Yeah, and Patrick Reed. I mean, he's in the midst of this this meltdown, and Patrick Reed is missing 3 and 4 foot putts. Mm-hmm. I mean, 2 on 1 hole.
Yeah,
and I'm saying, I mean, it's called pressure.
Yeah, if he makes makes the first one, he's tied for the lead.
Exactly.
So there was all kinds of, everybody had a story. So it
Well,
was
think
exciting.
think about Rory on 18 the first time around. He misses that putt that would have won it. How many of us would have missed the rebound putt? Because you think about all that pressure that you just dumped, and you're like, "Oh crap, I just lost this thing. I had my chance." And you're so focused on everything else other than just making this putt. You know, I'm sitting in the living room going, he might screw around and miss this too. Hang on.
Yeah, that was the same putt he missed a year ago in the U.S. Open, that 4.5 footer. He's done that twice now, so that's his kryptonite right now.
So it took some stones though for him to even make that second putt on 18 to actually go to the playoffs.
And then to come back
and then
in the
to play the
playoffs.
one-hole playoff as good as he did.
Well, what the shot of the tournament was, what his second shot on the second par 5 was at 16, when he was behind the tree, 180, 190 out, and hooked a 7-iron and knocked that thing on the green, and then made. Did he make eagle? No, he missed the putt for birdie. But that was the play, you know, the comeback, because everybody in the crowd was like, okay, you know, he's, you know, they were in misery because they could just see this thing self-destructing.
It's slipping away from Rory. And everybody, with the exception, I believe, of the golfers themselves, and of course, were rooting for Rory to come back and win that and have his name up there with the greats.
And I tell you, Justin Rose brought himself back after, you know, a very, you know, subpar round on Saturday, and put himself back in position to win too. So I think the rest of the summer is going to be great for golf.
And his shot on the playoff hole, if he had ended up winning, I mean, we're talking about that second shot into the green as one of the all-time shots, but then it got one-upped 30 seconds after that.
Well, and he made that putt on 18 the first time around to put himself in that position.
Yeah, and what about all the clips of Jack Nicklaus and all of the great golfers before making 65-foot putts? To, you know, I mean, to win those prior tournaments and those prior Masters. I think Jack Nicklaus won 6 of them.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods won 5 Masters.
Isn't that amazing?
Arnold Palmer wins 4 Masters. And I mean, those guys were just amazing. And again, we're talking about the equipment that Jack Nicklaus won those with, and the equipment,
woods and stuff.
and the equipment that Arnold Palmer, you know, won those with, and then Tiger and his crew then with the new woods, the metal woods, and everything. I mean, it's a great transformation for golf, and yesterday was a great day for golf.
Fun,
Let me ask you guys a question before we change topics.
Ask me.
Are our minds distorted in golf now because we have lived through 25 years of Tiger, and we're kind of looking at everything as far as golf greatness goes through the lens of Tiger, which there will never be another one. And I think are we slow to recognize all-time greatness because we've been so spoiled the last 30 years?
Yeah, I think that's a great comment.
It's a good point. You know, they interviewed Nicklaus over the weekend a couple of times. But one of the things he mentioned, and he was talking about the Tiger Wood events of the early 2000s. They said one of the best things that happened was Tiger getting hurt, because Tiger was so intimidating that he was dominating every event that he was in. When he got hurt and could not play, it opened up all these guys that were challengers to him. Now all of a sudden it was their chance. So these past 20 years, he said golf has never been in a better place. He said there are more good golfers now than there ever have been. And you can tell that by how many different champions that there have been.
Well, like we look at a guy like Brooks, who's won 5 majors, and we just kind of shake it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, yeah, cool. Tiger's got 15 of them.
Yeah.
Jack's got 18 of them.
Yeah. But they say they're looking at long-term stuff. And you thought, and McIlroy's been at it now. You know, if you think about it, those wins he had, they said it's been 11 years. He was in his early 20s.
Yes, exactly.
He was the child prodigy almost.
I think he won the U.S. Open first in like 2009.
Yeah, I mean, he was in his early 20s, but it was in the shadow of Tiger Woods.
Yeah, and then you look at players like Brooks Koepka and some of those guys that I mean, they were magical for a year or two.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, whether it was injury, whether it was you don't know what, all of the talk about the two golf leagues
right.
merging, and the Phil Mickelson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and granted, Phil Mickelson has aged now.
Yeah, he's in his 50s.
He's not playing competitive golf anymore. But Brooks Koepka is not that old.
Right.
And
Yeah, he's
he
early
should
older
be
than
up
me.
there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but golf's in a good spot right now, and
because I think we've definitely seen the last of Tiger, because just out of nowhere I see a post on his Instagram that's like, "Oh, I tore my Achilles. I'm out." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, really?
So like,
and I would agree. Tiger, and I don't know if Tiger has too much pride to come back on the senior circuit.
Yeah, he might play seniors. You just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think your comment of Tiger finally being done, I think, a torn Achilles is tough to come back.
He did play in that indoor. He was playing some in the indoor league that they had. But
and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, but he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to walk very far.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. Hey, Scotty, why don't you take us to break? And then after break, we'll throw some Notre Dame football around here and maybe have an opportunity to chat with the great Allison Hayes.
Yeah, she should be on here in a minute, but until we do that, we will be right back.
Medicare plans can be confusing, but they don't have to be. I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I can help you compare your options because I'm appointed with many nationally recognized carriers. With my help, you can find the coverage that fits your needs and budget. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
Dealing with the loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, we are here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Homes, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all of your funeral service needs. Hahn Funeral Homes is located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. You can call them anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get all your answers from our local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. Hahn Funeral Homes, a family serving families. Are you sick and tired of relying on somebody else to get you around? Are you coming to Indiana from a place where you just never needed to learn how to drive? Well, if you're looking to hit the road with confidence, Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka has been helping drivers of all ages gain the skills they need for a lifetime of safe driving. With experienced, patient instructors like Mr. Coach Pat King and flexible scheduling, Frick's makes it easy for you to learn to drive easy and stress-free. Whether you're a first-time driver or need a refresher like Mr. Coach Ron Heklinski, Frick's has you covered. Plus, for just $65, they offer the state driving exam in-house. No need to go anywhere else. Visit fricksdrivered.com or call 574-256-0650 to get started today. If you're nearing retirement, or if you're like me and you're not nearing retirement but you still want to get your money right for retirement, the Harbor Group Planned Wealth has you covered with the ability to answer questions like, what specific steps should I take before retiring? When should I draw Social Security? How do I manage investment risk? How much will health insurance cost if I retire? If I'm over 62, which I still am not, how much money can I earn part-time without affecting my Social Security and or my pension? And is it really possible to get a raise if I retire? If you want all those questions and more answered, call the Harbor Group at 855-5-HARBOR, HARBER, or you can contact VP Jessica Rhodes at 765-393-1074, or visit the website harborgroup.com. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Hey there, welcome back to Coach's Corner. Joining us now is our great friend, one of our favorite recurring guests, covers all things Notre Dame sports, mostly Notre Dame football. And if you haven't been living under a rock, spring football just ended. So she will talk about that here momentarily. It is the great Allison Hayes.
There you go. There's a round of applause for Allison Hayes.
Round of applause. Hi,
I
Allison.
like that intro. I appreciate the great Allison Hayes. I'll take it.
Well, you know, it reminds me when they introduced the starting line for Manchester College, 6'5" from South Bend, number 30, Ronnie Hecklinski.
Boo.
Who cares?
We got all the buttons here.
Who cares?
Congratulations to you, though, right? Didn't you just you got a pretty big honor for the state of Indiana? Am I correct?
No, that was really cool.
Don't
to
start.
Thank you for feeding me.
Yeah,
man.
Hall of Famer Ron
Fame.
Hecklinski.
Hall
Yeah,
of
no.
Famer, that's right.
That's how we need. That's how we need to introduce me from now. But actually, no, that was really cool. And I'll tell you what was really cool about it is like the class that I went in with. One of them was a guy named Dave McCullough from Noblesville, who was one of my best friends. And then two guys that played at South Bend in the late 60s, Lloyd and Floyd Kerr. They were twins that played at South Bend, Washington. And when I was 8 years old, I used to be at the park, and I used to pretend every day that I was Lloyd or Floyd Kerr every day. And then 60 years later, to be able to go into the Hall of Fame with those two guys was literally amazing to me.
That's so cool. But that's a great story.
Yeah, that was really cool. And when I found out that I was elected into the Hall of Fame, I was really happy. When I found out that the other people that I was going in with, who they were, I cried. So that tells you exactly how much that meant to me.
Yeah, and Allison, now he signs his checks at the end, HOF.
HOF 25.
Hey, man, I don't blame you one bit.
Why not, right?
Hey, HOF 25, but you'll love this because, I mean, it's what you do. You talk for a living, and so they send me this letter and they say, Ron, you get to give a speech, and the speech has to be 3 minutes. And I said, 3 minutes? I can't get through the spelling of my last name in 3 minutes. So the guy that went before me was the head coach at Indiana State, a guy named Matthew Graves. And he gets up there and he says, I got the memo. I know 3 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So he gives a speech. And he set it up for me perfectly because, my turn came and all I had to say was, what memo? I never got the memo. What memo? So I proceeded to go 12 minutes, which
oh my gosh,
it was cool, wasn't it?
The over/under was 8.
The over/under was 8, and I pushed the envelope, but I had some good stories in there, so it wasn't a drag, was it?
No, we did okay.
All right, good.
Hey, Allison.
Well, to kind of piggyback off of that, so on Saturday, I did an interview with Ricky Watters, the Notre Dame legend, 49ers legend, Super Bowl champ, national champ. And the producer tells me it's going to be 3 minutes. And I said, you must not know Ricky Watters. That's one question. So I said, it's going to be a little bit longer than that. And it was about 9.5 minutes.
Good for you.
That was me trying to wrap him. So, but hey, when you got Ricky Watters on, you let the man talk. He was a great interview. You can find that on my social media because it's worth it. It's worth a click because he was so fun to watch back in the day.
Well, that was one of my questions I was going to ask you today was some of the people that you had a chance to visit with on Saturday. So you already answered one of them right there. Before I got that, I was going to ask you, how was your trip to San Antonio 2 weeks ago?
Well, it was very cool and very completely coincidental. And I hate to admit this because I've gotten a lot of flack for it since I've admitted it. But we went to San Antonio for spring break, just wanting something different and different than Florida. We always go to Florida, or we've gone to Cancun a lot with the kids. But to be honest, some of our passports were expired and just hadn't had time to renew them. So we're like, well, what can we do that's different? And we ended up going to San Antonio, and it was incredible. Had no idea when we booked the trip a couple of months ago that the Final Four was even going to be there.
Did you get some churros?
We were there like right at the same time, and that the Gators would end up being there, which, as you guys know, I'm a Florida Gator grad. Mm-hmm. And so it was a really, really neat trip. And a cool part too is that we stayed at the JW Marriott, which is this amazing resort. They have this beautiful water park, beautiful golf course, and we're walking around, we're pulling up, and there's like signs for the Valero Texas Open, and we're like, No, I wonder if they got this golf tournament going on or something. And
You think?
again, same exact thing, same weekend as the Final Four. So
Uh-huh.
we were there on the front end of it. But the day we're checking out, like to leave, I'm sitting there waiting for my husband to pull up with the car so we can put our bags into our car. And up pulls this Lexus SUV, and an absolutely stunningly beautiful woman gets out, and she's getting her 2 kids out of the car. And, I'm sitting there just watching, waiting, twiddling my thumbs. And then out comes this guy, and I'm like, wait, it was Ricky Fowler. It was Ricky Fowler and his wife and 2 beautiful kids, and they were making their way in as we were checking out. And I was like, oh, man, we are leaving at the wrong time.
Bad
but it was
timing.
really cool.
That's fun. That's a good story. And I saw you went to a couple Spurs games maybe and saw
We
the
did.
Wesley
Yeah, that was
family.
also just one of those kind of spur of the moment things like, what can we do while we're in town? Oh, the Spurs are playing at home. And so we literally bought the cheapest tickets that we could find. They were $11 a piece.
Wow.
It was amazing. And
because
I,
Wendy
what happens
Yama's
when you're
hurt.
Yeah,
To
that's
be-
what
well,
happens when you're
yes,
playing the
exactly.
they're playing the last place team. So yeah.
Right. That's exactly why. But we sat up in the, the nosebleeds and then kind of worked our way down and ended up just having a really good experience. And then was connected with Blake Wesley's mother. Of course, Blake played at Riley and at Notre Dame for a year, and just a super nice kid. I've had him on as a guest on ABC57 Kickoff, and connected with his mom, Leslie Wesley. Amazing name, by the way. That is truly her real name.
Leslie Wesley.
I know Leslie. Yep. I know. We know the Wesleys.
They're amazing. And so, so after the game, they invited us to come down, and Blake came out and spoke with us and took pictures with the kids, and just a really great experience. He had a couple good moments there. He only finished with like 4 points, but he had a nice couple of assists and a couple of nice plays, steal, all that good stuff. And then like the next game, he went off for like 14 points against Denver on the road. But overall, just a cool, really neat experience.
That sounds fun. All right. So
Wait, I have a question.
all right, ask Scott. Scott's in here somewhere.
Did you get any
no.
churros?
At the game,
This is a
Just in
Charles
general.
Bar-
Charles
this is a
Barkley
general,
loves the
yes,
churros in San Antonio.
we did get
This is a
churros, and they
Char-
were
this is a-
so good.
Now you know why the women are so big.
Oh,
That's a Charles Barkley. He's leading up to the Barkley stuff. It's on TV.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's one of Charles's famous stories about
yeah.
San
Big
Antonio.
old women down in San Antonio.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Exactly.
the
So
Riverwalk being so dirty.
It was pretty dirty.
Yeah.
I'll admit
gross.
that. It was way more touristy than I thought too. We went on one of those architecture tour or whatever, the boat tour.
Right.
It was like, oh, this is so great. And then we came back down and like actually walked it. And we're like, oh, it's a Dick's Last Resort. It was just all these like cookie cutter, like you could go anywhere in the country and go to those same exact restaurants. So
Right.
that was kind of disappointing, but it was still just a neat atmosphere. We watched, this is a random story, but we watched a drone and it was going up and down the river and it was like showing off, and it went up just a little bit too high, caught the trees and fell straight down into the river.
Oh dear.
It was toast.
Oops.
Hey, so Notre Dame football now, and here we go. It starts now. I mean, I think Notre Dame has 3 more practices left, but
Yep.
they get the spring game going. You're, and you're in tune right now. You're probably in mid-season form, watching and getting names and trying to figure out who's going to take places of the graduated seniors. What was your first impression of Notre Dame football to date?
Well, we got to see some practices throughout the spring. I got to go to all 3 open practices that we were allowed to view. I got to be there for that Jersey scrimmage game, or whatever you'd like to call it. It was kind of the similar format of what they did at the Blue Gold game, which was, but it was interesting to see. At that scrimmage game, it was a lot of backup. So it was a lot, especially on the offensive line. And so that was something I was interested to see. And I'll be interested to watch that as it continues to develop from spring to the fall. And they were really banged up and, been battled injuries all fall. So, but Charles Jagasaw was back and all of the big name guys were there for the actual Blue Gold game. So it was interesting because in that scrimmage game, the Saturday before, the defense looked amazing. And I mean, that defense is very good, but I mean, they were unstoppable. And the quarterbacks had a really difficult time passing on that D line. Whereas in the Blue Gold game, we saw all those guys coming back, Jigsaw and Anthony Knapp and Billy Schroth and all those guys that had been kind of dealing with those injuries. We got to see them back. So it was a little bit more of a fair fight for the O-line versus that D-line. D-line still played great. The D-line future is, sky's the limit. And I was really impressed with the interior of that defensive line in the blue gold game. But it was a great opportunity. I mean, we came into the spring, and of course, the topic of conversation is the quarterback competition. Mm-hmm. And it was like, is it really a three-way competition? And what we were seeing, and, Kenny Minchey got a lot of attention kind of coming into the blue gold game. And for me, it's CJ Carr. It's always been CJ Carr. I just am a big fan of him. I think he is the future of this program. I want to see him get his opportunity and let him take the reins and let him go with it. I like what Steve Angeli does. I think he's a really great, solid backup. I think he could be a starting quarterback for a lot of programs. Maybe like he could be a star in the mid-majors and the MAC, the WAC. But I don't see him as the starting quarterback at Notre Dame right now, at least. We'll see if he ends up pulling that out. Maybe he starts against Miami on the first weekend of college football. Maybe he starts at Texas A&M. But to me, I just think it's CJ Carr. But Kenny really did start to emerge. And the biggest difference I saw from Kenny from what I've seen in years past is his confidence is really starting to grow. He's fighting for himself out there. He's fighting for himself in the media. He's always been kind of like soft-spoken and, didn't have sort of that it factor, that machismo to him. And we saw more of that this spring. And then to see his footwork and to see his confidence in his run game, to see him with some of the passes that he had, even in the blue gold game, he had a rushing touchdown. He didn't pass for any passing TDs, but he had some really nice connections there. So I think, coming out of the spring game, all three quarterbacks are starting quarterbacks. All three are very good. And that is an incredible position for Notre Dame to be in. It's a tough position for those quarterbacks to be in, though, because something's got to give. One of those guys really needs to transfer out. And I've said this for the last 2 years. I just feel like Kenny, and if they named him the starter today, I would be happy with that. I would be okay with it. But I just think Kenny has the most upside in terms of, if he's not going to be the starter at Notre Dame, stop wasting his time. You only get so much time in college football, and this is his moment. He needs to transfer out somewhere else and let him be the starting quarterback at a legit D1 major program, because I think he's that good. But I just really feel strongly about CJ, and I'll let you guys chime in.
So would you say then that this is a question that I obviously would answer, but and for Marcus Freeman to say, well, we're not going to make this a determination until fall camp, I think that's a huge disservice to one of the quarterbacks. And,
it is,
and that's why I say they got to make this determination now, and give one of those quarterbacks the opportunity to leave, and so, obviously, CJ Carr has the upside of the program. His upside is to lead Notre Dame not only this year, but for the next 2 or 3 years, and be that quarterback that's been there and can lead Notre Dame to a national championship. So he's obviously, and in your mind, and in my mind, he's obviously would be our number one choice. The question to me would be, if Steve Angeli is not the number one guy, would Steve Angeli want to come back and be number two? Because he's a proven guy too. I mean, Steve Angeli could go somewhere and play. He's going to graduate from Notre Dame. He's going to have that degree, and then would Kenny Minchey be satisfied with being the number two guy? And let's face it, college football. I mean, quarterbacks take hits, man, and the number two guy has a chance to play as much as anybody sometimes. So I think that's the real. That's the real conundrum here. And if Marcus Freeman and the coaches say, man, we can't make a decision, that's a real disservice to one of those guys.
I agree. I totally agree. And Allison, I would go out on a limb that I think something's going to happen this week, because
the portal opens like Wednesday?
Yeah, I think they're going to make a decision maybe
in 2 days,
tonight or tomorrow. So we're going to know Wednesday morning.
I don't think so. I
You
really
don't think
don't.
so?
I think they're going to hold it out and it'll continue through fall training camp. And I do think that will be a disservice. One little bit of intel I got from a former Notre Dame football player who was in town for Legacy Weekend. He had the opportunity to talk with Den Brock. He'll remain nameless, but
Okay, that's fair.
what was said was that what they were one of the things that they've been most impressed about with Kenny in his development, and it kind of piggybacks off of what I was saying, of what I've seen with my own eyes, what I've heard with my own ears. It was, and the quote was that he needed to get a little hair on his chest, and and like from a confidence standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, and that they've seen that developing from Kenny over this, over his time here at Notre Dame in general, but especially over this winter and now into the spring.
Well, and
so that's good for him. Very, very
I think
good.
so too. And as coaches, I think he's been loyal to the program because he has been willing for 2 years now.
Yeah, but
to be the loyal backup, keep his
take that loyal word out of it, man. Loyalty is zip.
Well, I know, but
it's cash. It's what it is.
What I'm saying is he's played the part. He's played the role as the backup, as the quiet. I'll hold the clipboard. I'll wear the cap. I'll do the signals. But as you mentioned, he's really stepped out now into the spotlight, and now you're seeing the real him because he knows this is his time. So because of that, I'm gonna go a different direction. If the longer they wait, I think that's a message to Mincy and also Angeli that they might not be the starter. And for either one of them or both of them, I could see both of them leaving.
Well, that would make things very interesting. That was something that I was talking, and I don't know why, but that thought had never really even crossed my mind, but it has to in this day and age because of the transfer portal. And, could you blame either one of those two guys?
No.
Because they both are like we said, all three of them are legit starting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And so, and do you fault them? I mean, like you said about the loyalty is different nowadays. The thing that I think Notre Dame has been so good about with their players is that they have, for the most part, been very transparent with them, I think, and that they have that communication. But where, they, at the same time, they've got to protect themselves and they want to have this incredible quarterback room. And you can only do that for so long to where it's no longer fair for one or both of those guys.
Right. I really think I think there's a fourth name involved here someplace that we don't know who it is yet, because I really think two of them are going to leave. I think two of them will leave.
Nico Iamalieva.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. From Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I don't see that one happening.
Yeah, I think two of them are going to leave and one of them will stay and they will go find a backup and just hope they can keep number one healthy.
Well, I mean, where does Herbert play out in this? I mean, he got a couple of snaps in the blue gold, right?
Yeah. Well, in that 7-on-7 that they did, he technically was the starting quarterback for the blue gold game, but that was because they brought him out. They did that for Rezak also. They brought those guys out as like a 7-on-7 to kind of give them some, an opportunity to get some reps in and get some snaps, but it wasn't the full on like the other guys were getting. So technically Steve Angeli was the actual starter when it came with the ones. But yeah, Hebert, I mean, he's got a lot of conversation about him too. To be honest, I haven't focused much my attention on him during spring because all of my attention was on the other three.
Sure. All right. Hey, change positions real quick. How about your running backs? Are both running backs going to be back?
Oh, yeah. Woo! Yeah. Love and Price. The running back room should be really cool, right? I mean, with all
loaded.
Three of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good with that. So
and don't sleep on Kedron Young either, because I mean he's the young guy, and that's what the blue gold game is usually about, right? It's like seeing these younger guys with the opportunity to kind of let them shine. Jeremiah Love did not play. We did see him. I was at that scrimmage where he tweaked his hamstring. Oh gosh, I know that Notre Dame had to just be like, of all the days, of all the practices, why did he have to do it at the one that all of the media are front and center watching on?
Right.
And Coach Freeman kind of downplayed it that day. Oh well, he'll be okay. He should be back, no problem. We'll have it evaluated. And they, never made an official announcement. And then he did not play in the blue gold game. I don't know how serious or severe it is, but he didn't participate. My concern for Love is just, keeping him healthy at this point. But he's so talented. You have to get him on the field. I think they did a good job of dividing those reps up between Aeneas Williams and Jadarian Price and Love. But I think a big product of that was because of Love not being fully 100%, and to see how good he was at 80%. I mean, man, he is incredible. What we did get to see from him in the spring was that he was working out with the wide receivers. And so before he tweaked that hammy, we got to watch him with the wide receivers. Great hands, great speed. When he was working with the running backs, he had great footwork, great cuts. And so he looked great. His knee looked great. Everything looked good. And then all of a sudden he pulls a hammy and it's like, oh no, here we go again. But that room is another area where I wonder how many or if any will be transferring out of there as well, because there's only so many snaps to go around. There's only so many carries you can give when you've got that many running backs. Aeneas Williams is going to be awesome. Look what he did last year, and he's just getting started. Right. And Jabron Payne, he's back. He's healthy. He is solid. You should see what his body looks like up close in person. He is just solid muscle. And they all have little, things about their game that they are complementing each other. And they're all so good. Jeremiah Love's one of the best players in the entire country. And Jadarian Price, my gosh, he played so well. So how do you get all of those guys enough snaps?
Helps and all in the how do you give all of those guys enough money on their NIL stuff? I mean, there can only be so much allotted per room.
Right.
Now we know the offensive line is going to be good. The next question is obviously the tight end room and the wide receiver room. What's your take on those two groups?
Tight end, I'm happy. I think Eli Raridan, he's another one of those guys that he kind of went from, you expect it to be the young guys who show out. And Eli, he's had such a battle and such a journey and been dealing with the injuries. And so it's been tough for him. He played in all 16 games last season, but he just wasn't still quite what we were hoping for out of him. And it's because he's been dealing with 2 torn ACLs. But he looked really good throughout spring, and he looked really good in that blue gold game. He looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to emerge and sort of like move into that. I don't know if he'll be as good as Michael Mayer, but, kind of move into that Mitchell Evans and Troy Nicholas and those kind of guys and really be able to contribute for the Irish. The wide receiving core is somewhere that I don't know what to expect from that. It's been perplexing to me for the last couple of seasons. And every year we get into the fall and I'm like, this is going to be the year that one of these guys really steps up. I was really big on Jaden Thomas, and I really thought that this was going to be his season this past year. And again, there's just not been this like number one guy that really truly emerged. Jordan Faison is a guy that, proves himself, but he's not necessarily just the absolute go-to. He's not a star. And that's probably a product also of Riley Leonard being more of a running quarterback, and then them having such a good, running back core that they wanted that to be the bread and butter of this team. But they've got to be able to open it up. Jaden Greathouse is someone that I would expect to maybe step into that role. He's got an opportunity to do that. And then maybe some of the younger guys, Elijah Burris, he's looked really good, and he's had some good connections with the younger quarterbacks, with CJ Carr, with Kenny Minchie. So Elijah could be one of those guys that's going to develop into hopefully what the Irish need as a go-to.
Well, and she mentioned you mentioned names. What's wrong with just having a bunch of no names? Because of the running game has been so good the last few years. Do they need a number 1 receiver, or do they need, what's wrong with having like 3 number 2s, so to speak? And I think that depth that they've had and what they've created with the offensive coordinators, I think it worked last year. You always want to have that go-to person, but they've made it work. They, with a bunch of, I'll say no names that have been created. If they had a good game this week, we knew who they were. Next week they disappeared and somebody else stepped up. But I don't see that there's a problem with that from last year. And if that happens again this year, I think they can get away with it.
Yeah, I think they need to. have one of those receivers or two of those receivers, emerge as serious threats.
As go-tos.
And when DC's got to prepare for Notre Dame, they got to say, hey, we got to know where Greathouse is. We got to know where Faison is. We got to know where this other guy that's, that is coming into the portal. We got to, have those guys accounted for, because that just makes your offense that much better, I think, right?
100%. And I agree. It's okay to have 3 guys, 4 guys that are kind of chipping away at it, but you're not going to wow anybody. And I think at the end of the day, that was one of the differences that hurt Notre Dame in that Ohio State game. And you've got to be able to open up that passing game. And it's just not something that we've seen from Notre Dame really in quite a few years. We've just not had a quarterback that has the ability to, stretch the field and throw these 25-yard passes. And we're seeing that in CJ Carr. I think he has that ability. So we've got to get him some chemistry and some connection with a 1-2 receivers, because it keeps them honest. When you have a running back or you have a quarterback like Riley Leonard, who he really wasn't going to beat you with his arm necessarily. He made throws when he could or when he needed to, but that was not what you were expecting from him. He was so good with his legs that it was like, all right, you were going to tempt him to try to beat you with that. And so neither Kenny says he's as good of a runner or better than Riley, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he does have a running ability. I think he's the best runner of the 3 quarterbacks that we've got right now. But I think, CJ kind of has a little bit of both, but he has the better overall arm strength, the better overall ability to lengthen that field. And so now he's just got to find the wide receiver that he can guarantee that he can, have that connection with every time he throws it downfield.
On the other side of the ball, Jack Kaiser now was there for like 19 years. Xavier Watts was it seemed like he was there for like 11 years. Now those 2 faces are gone. But I think that the athletes that Notre Dame ran on that field on the defensive side of the ball were amazing last year. And here's my question. L. Golden, gone, out of here. Chris Ash in. Will the defense be, similar, or will it be radically different? And I know they talked about in the back end maybe playing a little more zone than they did in the past. But was there anything that you saw on the defensive side of the ball?
I don't think it will be very much different. I think that, it's kind of that old adage of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think Chris has come in knowing that that's sort of the case for him. Anybody can take a look at what Al Golden has done over the past 3 seasons and say, hey, this is working. And they've got just the number of guys that are just able to move back into these positions to replace the guys that are leaving is really great. The amount of depth that they had, we saw that just, with the ability to rotate these guys in both offensive line and defensive line when injuries took place. We didn't see guys like, I'm looking at him. Botello. He was hurt. We didn't get to see Boubacar. He was hurt. But yet the D line that played in the blue gold game looked really, really good. Jason Anye is back, and that's going to be a really great benefit. Kingston Viliamu-Asa, he is looking really good. So I think they've got all those pieces, and the interior is really good. They're strong on the ends. The linebackers are great. Drake Bowen, those were guys that you didn't even really need to focus too much on, like a Drake Bowen, because he is so good and so solid. But then young guys like Bryce Young, that's the future of this program. That guy is going to be an NFL prospect and a high draft pick, in my opinion. Of course, the tutelage of his dad and Bryant Young. For him to have the 2 blocked field goals, a block punt, and to be as involved as he was as a true freshman, sky is the limit for him too. But Chris Ash, I think that's kind of like you touched on, going zone. That's maybe where he puts maybe his stamp on this defense, because that's the only thing where I think, he's got to make it his own in some way. And Coach Freeman in his one press conference kind of started to say that or at least the way he worded it, it kind of felt like, this was his idea, but then he kind of backtracked and it was like, well, this is Chris Ash's idea, and I support it. You know, and it's like,
It's my idea. No,
That's
it's not,
interesting.
Coach. It's
I was
Ash's.
the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allison, who are some of the, we've talked, the front seven, I think everybody knows is going to be pretty sturdy. Who are some of the names we're going to hear in the secondary this year that we didn't hear last year, maybe?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, you've heard of him, but Leonard Moore is definitely going to be one of those names that you hear about. And I think he's just going to continue to get so much better. And then the young guys is
Well, they always bring in freshmen that we don't even know who they are. Still, they're getting ready to go to their prom right now in high school. So there'll probably be some people that we don't even know about right now. So that may not be a very fair question to you.
Well, you got
no,
Schuler. Schuler's
I'm
really
just
good.
literally
Schuler's
drawing
strong.
a blank right now, but I just think.
Yeah, the guy that Ohio State picked on late in the game.
Freshman. Yes. Christian Gray.
Yes.
Yes,
from 50 Shades of Grey.
He was, I think, a sophomore last year. He's coming back. Christian has proven that he
50
does
Shades
have the
of Grey.
ability. They want to go after him. He might make a mistake here and there, but then he has the ability to make you pay for it. Look at the USC game.
Yeah, he makes some plays.
He did that in the playoffs as well. He did get burned against Ohio State. But I think he's just such a nice guy, and he is so talented. And you've got him and you got Leonard Moore, and I think that they're going to be in really good shape there. Another guy, Luke Talich. He had a really good blue gold game, and that's a safety. He led the team in tackles. They brought him out to talk. He was big on those 2 goal line stands when they were, I think maybe might have been Kenny was in at quarterback at that time, and they were looking to score, and Talich was in on both of those big stops on 3rd and 4th down. And so that's another guy who looks really, really good. Tay Johnson, that's the name I was looking for. Tay, he's made some moves, and so it'll be interesting to see if he's a starter or where they fall into place. But that's a spot that the safety or the secondary is still kind of a work in progress for me. Sure. The offensive line and then wide receivers. Those are the 3 spots. I think O-line still has a lot of talent and a lot of experience coming back. So I think overall it'll be okay. It's just overcoming all of those injuries and then keeping them healthy.
Kicking game. What about I mean, we have the Australian kicker back, right? Rendo, he's back.
Yes, a punter, and he's got a heck of a boot on him. The new guy, and I'm losing his name right now too, but the new guy from North Carolina that transferred in, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Of course, he missed that 50-yarder at his first attempt in the blue gold game, which was, that's a 50-yarder, so whatever. I mean, he missed it by about 100 yards, but in that scrimmage that we got to watch, in the wrong
direction.
You're right.
You were on the sideline. Where were you standing? Did you have to duck?
Yeah, no, I was up high, and I was like, what happened?
Okay.
Did it get blocked?
So
I was shocked that it did not get blocked.
That's interesting. Hey,
but in that scrimmage the week before, he also missed like a 17-yard field goal.
Oh, geez. I can make those.
Yes, a little concerning, but again, that's just one that we get to witness.
It's April.
He shanked it.
Yeah, it's April. Hey, you've thrown a bunch of football. Let's take a big deep breath. We're getting ready to watch the WNBA draft here. I'm gonna throw 2 names at you real quick.
You're getting ready to watch it.
It's out of the corner of my eye. Where does
I got the Cubs on against the Padres coming on here?
Where does Citron and Westfield do they get drafted tonight?
I would think Sonia Citron is going to be, yes. I think she's a first-round draft pick for sure. I don't know about Maddie. What's that?
I think
she went number 4.
They've got her picked.
Oh, did it already happen? Yes,
no, it's just now. It's just now
happened.
They're sitting there. They're talking about it. It hasn't happened yet. One of the things I saw with Maddie was possibly 2nd round. You know what? 2nd round. Those are tough because in the WNBA, sometimes first rounders don't even make the team. So. Right. But Citron, I think, has got a legit chance. I think she's going to be a top 4 or 5 pick. So,
I couldn't agree more.
Good for her.
And she's just one of those hard-nosed players. She was in the mix with 2 of the best guards in college basketball.
Yeah, she had. I thought she had a great
Hidalgo
season.
and Olivia Miles. Sonia had a great season. She held her own every single game. She quietly went out there and did her thing, while those 2 girls And to their credit, they were boisterous, they were loud, they had big personalities. And Sonia was quiet, and she just went out there and went to work. And she's knocking down threes. She's making plays when she needed to. And she was like reliable. You knew what you were going to get from her week in and week out. And no doubt about it to me that she should be a first-round draft pick. Maddie is a little bit different. I don't really know what to make of Maddie, and no disrespect to her whatsoever, a really solid, good player. But at times when they needed her, she just kind of didn't show up. And I don't know if she was completely healthy, returning from those injuries. It really derailed her last season. She tried to come back. So it's kind of hard to figure out where she could go. I've seen that maybe she could go like to the Chicago Sky. But I'm not quite sure what to make of it. We'll see. I mean, I hope nothing for the best for her. And I hope she comes into her own and is able to rebound from whatever she was going through. But I'm not quite sure.
Why did Miles leave?
That is another really perplexing question. And, I've heard a lot of different rumors and things that could be why. And I truly don't know, because she really, truly had chemistry with Hannah, and the two of them together were spectacular. And just the things that I've been reading is that the reason that she chose not to go to the WNBA yet to the draft, because she was expected to be like possibly as high as a 1, 2, 3 pick, was that she didn't feel like her stamina was back to 100% yet. And so she wanted to have another year of college under her belt. And I did see that she said something along the lines of she really felt that TCU and their coach there could elevate her game and push her because of their like run and gun style. They have a pro style offense, I guess. And so she felt like that was a good place for her. I don't know. I mean, you hear different rumors or whatever, and having to share the spotlight. I never got that feeling from Olivia at all. All of the interactions I had with her, I mean, their chemistry was great. And the locker room, from my standpoint of what I got to see with my own eyes, always seemed like it was really good. I don't know if she just wanted another challenge, if she did want an opportunity to be the number one, because as good as she is, let's face it, Hannah Hidalgo is the number one at Notre Dame right now and will be as long as she's there.
Right.
Yeah, and there's only one number one getting paid, right? I mean,
right.
at the end of the day, and I mean, I hate to say that. I hate to think that way because I do believe in loyalty, but when when you're talking about this kind of stuff, I'm not sure, because Miles can go and play at TCU and probably make more money at TCU than she would make in the WNBA. Actually.
Well, I just Googled this while we were talking, and it says that a $1,023,464 figure, it might have played a part in her reason to bypass the WNBA draft and to enter the portal, because it just was an opportunity for her to make an incredible amount of money, way more money than she could ever make, at least at first in the WNBA salary wise. And we're seeing that with, even football. Like, look at Sam Hartman. He had the opportunity to make way more money in NIL money coming to Notre Dame than by going to the NFL and being on the practice squad.
That's a whole nother topic. You're exactly right.
Well, and conversely speaking, then, when we slide over to the men's team and Micah says, we got to get tougher, man. We got to be a better defensive team. And all these other major college ACC teams, Big Ten teams, they're bringing transfers in from huge programs and guys that are going to make them better. And we bring a guy in from Northern Arizona, a guy that averages 13 points a game and 12.4 rebounds a game. And there's no doubt in my mind that he probably is a good defender, but playing defense at Northern Arizona and playing defense in the ACC is a lot different. And so it always amazes me when you're talking about the portal with Notre Dame basketball and the kind of players that they're bringing in, as opposed to maybe the Floridas or the Houstons or teams like that.
This could be, though, a huge make or break season, I think, for the Irish. And don't give up on them just yet. And do not give up on Micah Shrewsbury. I'm a big Micah Shrewsbury fan. I love what he was able to do at Penn State. I love the tutelage that he's gotten from Matt Painter at Purdue and from Brad Stevens at Butler and with the Celtics. I truly believe in him. And I think at times last season he got frustrated. And, I didn't like that he took it out on the fans. The fans had absolutely nothing to do with the product that the Irish were putting out there on that court. So don't get mad at them if they're not willing to come out for a 9 p.m. game on a Tuesday, to watch Notre Dame get beat. You put that product out there and the fans will follow. But I do think that Micah is the right coach. I think people cannot lose sight of the fact that when he got to Notre Dame, the cupboard was completely bare. He had to literally pull kids off of campus and have them just try out to be walk-ons so that he could fill his bench out. And so he had some of his transfers that he brought with him. And he, thank goodness, he had Marcus Burton who stayed. Marcus Burton is staying again. And Sir Mohammed is staying. I went to LaPorte La Lumiere and I spoke with Jalen Harrelson. He's the top-rated recruit in the modern era for Notre Dame men's basketball. It's the top-rated recruiting class in the modern era for Notre Dame men's basketball. So they've got a ton of talent coming in, and then they have the experience now of Marcus, who continues to be one of the best players in college basketball on one of the worst teams in college basketball. So give him some talent around him, give him some size. That's the thing. I'm hoping maybe this guy that they brought in from Northern Arizona, Carson, he's 6'8", 235 pounds. Like, they need some bodies in the paint to go along with their guard play. Jalen, to his credit, he is a string bean. He is not a big body. He's a tall kid, but he's lanky, and he's not going to be this big power force down low in the paint, but he's got the ability to play inside. He's got the ability to play outside. He's got the personality to match. Just personality-wise, he's going to be a fan favorite here, and hopefully he stays around for a couple of years, but he's got the talent, McDonald's All-American, that he could be a one and done. We'll see. Blake Wesley was one and done, and I think he really could have benefited from at least one more season at Notre Dame, if nothing else, just for the maturity level aspect of it. He still very much seems like a kid, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because he is a kid in the sense where he should be in college still, but he's making millions and millions of dollars. But Jalen is just, man, he is one of those rare talents, and he's a rare, super smart, super nice, just a great overall kid. And then you add in Shrewsbury's son, who's on the team, who just continues to get better and better too. So they've got a nucleus now, and then they're bringing in some really, really good young talent. So I think we should see a huge leap from this past season to this coming season. At least I hope so, and I do truly believe in it.
Jalen Harrelson is an Anderson, Indiana kid. When I was coaching at Anderson, his dad, Art, was on my coaching staff.
No way.
And would come in and play against the players every day. And his mother and his father are tremendous people. And that's why I say that I don't think Jalen is going to be a one and done. I think, with his family's influence, I think Jalen, will be a Notre Dame kid, maybe 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And he's just a phenomenal kid. And the Notre Dame Christian atmosphere will be wonderful for Jalen.
He could have gone anywhere in the country. Literally anywhere in the country. And it was important to him to stay close to home. He's not necessarily saying that because I don't think he wants to downplay the other offers that he had, or that's the only reason he chose Notre Dame was because it's close to home. But it plays a huge part in it. His parents were, they went to almost every single one of his high school games because they were able to, even though they had to travel, a couple of hours to get there. And they're going to do the same thing at Notre Dame. He has a super close relationship with them. I had the pleasure to meet both his mom and dad, and you make a great point there. I think his education is really important to them, and him being able to be close to his family is really, really important to him. So I think you're right. It does lay a good foundation for him to stay for at least a couple of seasons. But man, talent-wise, he is the real deal.
Hey, listen, we want to thank you for, taking some, time out of your Monday evening. I know you got a couple of great kids, and
it's bedtime for them. So
and it's bedtime. So we really appreciate you coming on, talking the Notre Dame sports beat with a couple of slaps like me and Pat. Well, I know, speak for yourself, right?
We mean well.
Yes, we mean well.
Well, I love you guys, and I appreciate the work that you guys do too, and both of you as coaches. I loved having the chance to cover you back when I worked at Fox 28 back in the olden days,
Right.
and so a lot of respect for you guys, and I always appreciate being able to come on when I have the time and when you have the time to have me. So I'm happy to come on again as we get ready for the fall.
All right. Hey, you got 30 seconds. What's on the agenda for you for the next 2 to 3 weeks? What's going on at ABC57?
I'm happy to say that my now season's kind of slows down. I get a little bit of a break, but I am working on one special feature that we're going to do for we call it sweeps, in May ratings period. But I shared it on social media. Do you guys remember Demetrius Dubose? He was captain, Notre Dame linebacker, graduated from Notre Dame in 3.5 years, a double major, finance and business, a great overall guy. He was a captain under Lou Holtz, so that tells you a lot about the character of this kid. And, he goes to the NFL, and his career kind of didn't pan out the way he'd hoped, like a lot of guys do. And he kind of was, trying to find himself. And, in 1999, I remembered him as a player at Notre Dame. I never, ever heard anything about him again and just kind of forgot. 1999, he was shot and killed by police in San Diego. And it's a really bizarre story, and it's kind of weird. And he went over on a balcony of a neighbor's apartment overlooking the ocean, and he falls asleep, and the neighbor comes home and finds him there, calls the police, and they end up working it out. Well, the police in the meantime arrive. The spotlight, the helicopter's overhead with the spotlight on him, and long story short, he takes off running. They run after him. They pursue him. A struggle ensues as he's trying to break away and get away from them. He is shot between 11 and 13 times. 5 of those were in the back.
Oh, man.
And it's just a brutal, heartbreaking story. And so one of his former teammates, John Kouris, he was a walk-on tight end at Notre Dame, and he really looked up to Demetrius, to Demo, as he's called, and he was a mentor for him. And so long story short, he really started to look into this tragedy of what happened and why. And he got into the accounts from the witnesses, and both police officers were found, innocent, and they felt that it was just. I think that this story, had it happened in the last 5 years, it would be a completely different reaction from the people in our communities. And it's just something to look into. And so I'm working on this story. I'm going there to Chicago tomorrow to sit down with John and go through these records and the police reports, and just to kind of get into it and see what was going on, and to just kind of share the story more of who he was as a player too, and not just the tragic end to his life.
Sounds interesting. That's for sure. So you're going to be a busy lady.
Yeah, as always. But it's one of those stories that I just feel really passionate about and want to learn more about. And he made a documentary, and he actually did a screening of it on Saturday before the Blue Gold game. So I got some of his former teammates involved. And so it's just really interesting.
Well, good luck on your story. Thanks for all you do, Allison. And again, thanks for coming on tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. And a shout out to the guys at the Linebacker. You guys are my favorite.
Yes.
And thank you so much for having Coach's Corner in there. They're good guys to be around too. So we love the Backer. I love the smash burgers, and I love the giant beers.
They're rolling tonight. So
All right.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Allison.
Hey, guys.
So she is definitely a pro in everything that she reports on, and she's very, very passionate with her job. Scott, why don't you take us to a break, and maybe we can get Charlie Gruey on here and go through the life of maybe a 16 or 17-year-old kid that's rehabbing back from ACL surgery.
Sounds good to me. Take him away, Scott.
Finding private health insurance can be stressful. What if it didn't have to be? I'm Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. I prefer to personally meet with my clients so I can get a better understanding of your needs and budget. I can even review your current coverage. I don't want you to be my client today. I want you to be my client forever. Call Tony Letcher today to schedule your free consultation or visit tletcher.com.
The loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes in Mishawaka, we're here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Homes, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all your funeral service needs. Hahn Funeral Homes is located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. You can call us anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get your answers from our local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. Hahn Funeral Homes, a family serving families. Hey, are you in the great state of Indiana and need your driver's license? Frick's Driving School in Mishawaka makes it easy with the Indiana State Driving Exam in-house for just $65. No formal driver's education is required. You might even get to drive with Pat King. Who wouldn't want that? I don't know. You just have to be 16 years and 270 days old, which is like 9 months, and have held an Indiana learner's permit for at least 180 days, which is like 6 months. Frick's provides the vehicle. You just have to bring yourself, a can-do attitude, and a ride to and from the office. The exam takes only about 20 minutes, and you can walk out with your official Indiana driver's license, which we're like the only state that calls it an operator's license for some reason. To schedule, you can call 574-256-0650 or visit fricksdrivered.com. If you're nearing retirement and need to get your money right, and you know what, heck, even if you're not approaching retirement and you still want to get your money right for retirement, call the Harbor Group Planned Wealth. They can help you retire with confidence, especially if you have questions like, what specific steps should I take before retiring? When should I draw Social Security? How do I manage investment risk? How much will health insurance cost if I retire? If I'm over 62, which I am not, but if you are, how much money can you earn part-time without it affecting Social Security and or pension? And is it really possible to get a raise if I retire? If you want all those questions asked and probably many more questions answered, you can call the Harbor Group at 765-393-1074, or you can visit them online at harborgroup.com. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC. Hey, we're back with more of Coach's Corner with Heck and King. Thanks to Allison Hayes, as always, for coming on with us. She adds a lot of actual substance to this show, other than the bloviating we just do here. We will be joined hopefully soon by Charlie Gruey. Until then, we'll talk about, I don't know, whatever we want to talk about. In the meantime, thanks always to the Black Sedan Band for giving us the great music that we intro with and come back with from our advertising breaks. They are on YouTube. Check them out there. Or check out their website, blacksedanband.com. They do travel. I don't know how much you have to pay them to travel, but they will travel. Anything's negotiable, right? But anyway, back to these two guys here at the Backer.
Yeah, and we are at the Backer. I of course, had my my meal today. I come in here and I get the 3-cheese grilled cheese sandwich with the awesome fries. Yeah, I don't think Pat has eaten yet, but the food here at the Backer is amazing and really, really good. The atmosphere
not bad
here,
for a dive bar, right?
Oh man,
it's normally where the best food is.
A Notre Dame bar, man. Are you kidding me? And the atmosphere is great. And anybody out and about, if you want to come on in, we're going to be here for a few more minutes.
Well, last week this place was packed.
Yeah, no,
Monday night
it was
game for the finals.
It was, and if you wouldn't have been in Mexico, we would have been here.
Yes, we would have. We would have been the featured lead-in.
Would have had a real captive audience
before the Florida-Houston final game, which turned out to be a pretty good ball game.
Yeah, it was a great game if you're a Florida fan. I mean, I think
and we didn't give Allison a chance to brag any at all. You know, she played tennis at Florida, so she's a Florida Gator.
Well, I don't know if she knew Walter Clayton Jr. then. Maybe she knew him. I don't know. But Walter was zipping the first half, and he had a great tournament run all the way through, but was scoreless in the first half. And in the second half, I thought Florida did a really, really nice job of putting both bigs in at the high post area in what most coaches call the horns formation, and which then took the help side. out a little bit because Houston had to come up and play those bigs up there, which opened up the driving lane. So Coach Gooden did a really, really nice job of making that adjustment. And I think we now have the great Charlie Gruey on with us tonight. Charlie, how you doing, man?
Hey, good. How are you?
We're doing really good. We just had the great Allison Hayes on, and she gave us all the inside scoop on Notre Dame football, Notre Dame basketball, and just had a nice 40-minute visit. The reason I wanted to bring you on tonight is twofold. First of all, to congratulate you and the St. Joe Indians / Huskies on that state championship. But I kind of wanted our listeners to kind of listen to a kid who, as a sophomore and 6'5", 6'6", just really, really athletic, playing on the JV team / varsity minutes a little bit, tears his ACL, and now has to go through that grueling 12-month rehab. And then you're heading into your junior year. You have Ethan Roseman coming in. You have a great team. There's going to be some clock for you, but now you got a rehab. And kind of tell our listeners your story about your knee injury a little bit.
Yeah, so it all started like right at the end of 8th grade summer, right before freshman year. I unfortunately, just by pure luck, pure mistake, just tore my ACL, and it was devastating. That first year was really hard just because you're coming into high school, everyone's playing sports, you're not, and the biggest part about it is having that mindset and looking towards the future, right? So coming back sophomore year, it was really tough, just not feeling like I'm in my body, not being able to move the way I want to be, and I've eventually towards the end of the year started getting the hang of it, and I was getting up there blocking shots, getting in the groove of being a sports player, and then I tore it again. Probably.
Which knee was it?
Right knee. Both times it was the same knee as well. So, really just unlucky. And most doctors will tell you that tearing it to begin with is rare, and then tearing it a second time on the same knee is even more rare. So it's just such an unfortunate series event. But, I like to look at this as almost a blessing, just because I'm going to be better off than the average person just because I've gone through this experience. You know what I mean? And it's tough and it's hard to work through, but I'm grateful to have the opportunity, and I'm grateful to look towards next year as well, because I'm coming back now and I'm going to be excited to get better and move on, and really excited to be playing sports finally again.
Yeah, and not only do you play basketball, but you're obviously a defensive end at 6'5", and having the ability to rush the passer on most days. On most days, while your teammates were on the court practicing, what did your rehab consist of?
It was a lot of early mornings, waking up, going to the gym, and grinding leg days. There's a lot of specific workouts that my therapist give me, and I do certain movements that help me adjust to the new knee and everything. And also there's many days where I have to skip practice or go after practice to other therapy appointments where we work on stuff one-on-one, and he examines my knee, makes sure everything's looking all right, and make sure I'm progressing.
Now, I know Dr. Radigan was your surgeon, and as far as I'm concerned, he's the absolute best. He did my shoulder, but he's the absolute best on knees too. And he was really, really careful with you on this rehab, wasn't he?
Yes. He was adamant on not letting me come back until that year mark was met. A lot of my therapists, both therapists I had actually, with the SBO one and the IronX, was like I was good to go at 9 months, but Radigan was really adamant on me going the full year just so that this would never happen again.
So as you attacked your rehab, what does your knee feel like now? I mean, would you say it's 100% and you have all the strength in it that you need to have now?
Oh, 100%. I am in the best shape of my life up to now. You know what I mean? Obviously it'll get better, but my knee feels great. I feel confident in my body, and I'm jumping higher and more, explosive than I ever have before even having a knee surgery to begin with. So,
did you get a chance to, get any practice time in on the court later on in the season this year?
Yeah, so after that year mark, we just entered playoffs and everything. And so there was a good 4-week stretch where I was able to practice with the guys, get a lot of experience and, help the other guys get better. Obviously, we have an extremely talented team. So even just playing those 4 weeks was like pretty incredible for me. And I was super grateful to have the opportunity.
So have you noticed any change in your game coming back? And obviously, after not playing for a year and being in the weight room and getting stronger, not only working on your knee, but working on all parts of your body, did you feel that your strength had come back and you were more powerful and stronger than you were before?
Oh, 100%. I noticed how much more physical I was able to be and how much of a greater presence I was in the paint. You know what I mean? Like just lifting and being in the gym the entire time kind of paid off in that, like, I was really physical down low, being strong and everything. And I was kind of overpowering other people. So, yeah.
So you guys have that sectional run now. You beat Washington. You have that emotional game. We like to call it the Holy War. I mean, I'm a St. Joe guy, so when we played Marion, it was always the Holy War. So now you got to play the Holy War again in the sectional. Then you got to beat CMA. Talk about that sectional run right there for the Indians / Huskies.
Right. Yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, I had a complete faith in the guys. They had faith in themselves. Coach had faith. We knew we were going into that Marion game and we were going to win it, right? I mean, obviously we have the more talented team and, these guys are just hardworking guys, athletic, and they just got the job done. We killed Marion and then we go into Culver. Obviously, we didn't come out the best, but we're a competing team, right? Fourth quarter, our guys started leading. Woog especially started leading. He doesn't want to go home, right? And, he just ends up finishing that game for us. And we were so happy. I mean, like, the whole goal was state, and obviously we got there, won that. But, I mean, getting through that sectional was kind of big because usually teams who go to state one year, end up losing in that sectional the next year. And so breaking that was pretty special.
And now the regional game, you're going to play a really tough and your offense, at St. Joe. I mean, you guys could score 100 points one game. You could score 90 points like you did at semi-state. Pat called your game at the semi-state. But now you're going to get into a game where Columbia City is going to slow the game down. And because, as a team, you guys played every conceivable type of game that you could this year. You were able to win a game in the 50s against Columbia City.
Yeah, that was an amazing game. Obviously, they had, just well-rounded players. I mean, there wasn't any, outstanding, phenomenal guy, super athletic or super, talented like Chase. But they were such a well-rounded team. They, their offense was very fluid. They got the ball down to the big guy. He did it, went to work. They were really well versed in their footwork and stuff. And it was just a great game to watch and be a part of and see how, our guys are competing versus them and, obviously how we come up on top.
Well,
you got semi-state, man.
Yeah, I was just thinking the 3 games you had there with Marion, CMA, and then Columbia City were all very similar style ball games, and it showed that they could grind it out. Then by the time they get to Logansport, now all of a sudden McConaughey wants to run with you, and
big mistake, right?
Found out, I know the coach from McConaughey. He and I have known each other for a long time, and they play the same style ball that St. Joe does. So they said, let's just see if we can outscore them, and obviously that was a bad idea. and then East Chicago was a similar way. Both teams were up and down style teams. And it was a great day for St. Joe, and got you guys down to Indianapolis. Hey, one thing I was going to ask you on the medical side, back up a little bit with your surgeries. 30-some years ago, I had an ACL replaced also. Did they do those operations 30 years ago? They did. Jeez, I thought they just cut your leg off, man. No, that was my dad. Okay. Hey, did they use your patellar tendon and replace the tendon with a tendon, the ligament with a tendon, or did they get a cadaver to do those?
So the first time they did it with my quad because my growth plates were still open. So if they were to use my patellar tendon, it would like somehow close the plates or whatever. And
Okay.
but the second time around, they did use it just because the plates were done. They used patellar tendon. So yeah.
Okay, because there was a time period when they were using cadavers, Achilles tendons of cadavers, because they said the rehab was quicker, but the success rate on them was not as good too. So I was just curious. I mean, mine was a patellar tendon, but I was 30, almost 40 years old when I had mine. So there's a little bit difference with carving up a 40-year-old than working on a teenager. I can see that part.
And a guy who's got a future, in athletics. So now I mean everybody's hyped up, man. Everybody in South Bend, the Indians / Huskies are going downstate. You got Crispus Attucks, man, and Crispus Attucks is good. They're athletic, they're good. Talk about your mindset going into that game.
Well, I mean, at this point, after losing the year prior, it was all about just, going in there, competing and winning, right? You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of a dog mentality. And our coaches did a phenomenal job of, bearing that in our mind just over and over again. It's like, you can't be afraid in these moments. You can't, like, let that nervousness take place of excitement, right? It has to be excitement, and you have to be, ready in the moment to just go out and compete. So that was kind of our mindset going in there, and we knew we were going to win just because of who we had on our team.
So and as well as I do, in Indianapolis, there were basically three teams at Indy this year. You had Ben Davis, you had Lawrence North, and you had Attucks. That's where the kids were going. Attucks was better than they're not normally that good. They had some very, very good players. They had some high caliber, people on that team. So, leading into that, it was a very even game. Matter of fact, a lot of people thought Attucks was the favorite in the game. So, people that were not from up in this area, Indianapolis people, Southern Indiana people, they thought Attucks was the team to beat, just kind of like Fishers was the team to beat in the second game.
Yeah, but obviously, I mean, Coach Gaff and Swanigan and Fisher and Landon Booker and Lee Ross, I mean, those coaches in my mind are just great. They're studs because they have an understanding of not only is the game played from a physical standpoint, but it's played from a mental standpoint too. And they put that dog mentality into you, didn't they?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. They just, drilled it. Yeah. Gaff was all about, how you're going to approach the game and, what he always said that like our DNA was defense. You know what I mean? It was all about mindset and stuff. And obviously it worked.
Yeah, and Chase and obviously Chase Konechny was working on his jump boxes and his squats because that putback dunk, in the last minute or so was unbelievable, right?
Oh my gosh, I can't even describe to you the feeling after seeing something like that. Just because, like, from one dunker to the other, it was just like that is the perfect way to end the game, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it came out of nowhere because
exactly
he was having a very average game, and it just kind of blended in. He had not done anything special, and then all of a sudden, bam! He made that play. Shrewsbury made a great play to get the shot he had, and he just missed, and then everything else off of that, and then to be the drama of the last minute of the ball game, added to it. So that was, if it'd been a third quarter dunk, we would have enjoyed it. With it being the last minute of the game dunk,
it's phenomenal.
Made it extra special.
I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a part of history. Your team is a part of history. You're a part of history. And now you lose Konechny and you lose Woods, but you have the majority of that team back. Elijah King had a great tournament for you. I think he's a special, special player. And Roseman is the kind of guard that every championship team needs because he does what he needs to do to win a game, right?
Oh, yeah. Selfless ball right there. I mean, and the fact that Woog is only a sophomore, right? Elijah's only a sophomore is huge for us just because he's just going to continue to develop. And him being as good as he is as a sophomore is just amazing for us. And Ethan, just how selfless he is in terms of his ball play is, amazing, not only for the program, but for everyone else on the team.
Yeah. And so when you look at what y'all have coming back next year, again, you're going to find yourself in the mix of banging, of chasing down rebounds, of getting a tip dunk or two. And then as you play, the longer you play, your rhythm will come back. You'll get your rhythm sometime this summer. And basketball, when you first came back, I'm sure basketball seemed kind of foreign to you because the bounces that were natural for you to go after, you had to think about for a minute, but your rhythm will come back this summer. And I think you're poised, both you and your team, to have a great senior year next year.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm excited for where we're going to go with that too, just, in terms of my progress and the team's progress.
Yeah. And then football coming off the edge. Are you kidding me? Coming off the edge, down in a 3-point stance, getting that back foot ready to explode and hit the QB, right?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and so you come from a great athletic background. Your father was just a great baseball coach. An assistant at Notre Dame, a head coach at Michigan State, an assistant at LSU, and genetically speaking, you're wired to be a great athlete. And, we want to thank you for, taking your Monday night, giving us a few minutes and kind of chronicling so people can see how hard it is for a young kid who's used to playing, man. And having the same injury twice, having to battle through and then to get yourself, ready and get yourself ready to go again, man. And we both wish the best for you, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, man. This is Coach's Corner.
He's not old enough to come in here yet.
No, this is Coach's Corner. I better not see you in the linebacker, man. I'm going to call your mom and dad if I see you in the linebacker. Hey, work hard in the offseason, man. I'll see you at church.
All right. Thank you.
That's the great Charlie Gruey, man. I hope our listeners, I hope our listeners got a great sense as to how difficult and how hard that is for a young kid, for a young kid to go through that. And then to tear the same knee, because they usually say that your knee is stronger or whatever you tear, it comes back stronger.
Though the science part of it, you're replacing a ligament with a tendon.
Yes.
And that's what they told me a long time ago. I had mine replaced in Indianapolis. The Colts team doctor did mine.
So at age 40, what'd you do? Chasing your wife around the house?
No, I
tore your ACL?
I was overweight, out of shape, still trying to play basketball.
No, it was not a Gus Macker tournament. No. Tell me it wasn't in the Gus Macker.
It was at the YMCA in Peru, Indiana.
Oh, man.
YMCA
those good old days, man.
Still trying to play basketball.
NBA playoffs, right?
Start tomorrow. The regular season ended yesterday, and playoffs start tomorrow. And, they've got now 10 teams.
I know the
total, and they've got one game play-ins.
Yeah.
So Tuesday and Wednesday, you've got the play-in games, and then the winners play each other Friday, and then really everything starts Saturday. And the nice thing is the Pacers are the 4 seed, and they open up at home against Milwaukee. Your Chicago Bulls made it. They've got a home game Wednesday night against Miami. They're the 9 and the 10.
Yeah.
And the winner of that has to play on Friday against each other to see who gets to play against one of the 1 seeds.
Yeah, Cleveland. Hey, let's win this play-in game. Now we get to play the Cavaliers for 7 games.
Well, and
really?
Here, next week we're going to talk about some more, because I looked at some of the scores. Remember last week I was talking about, I had this big dream about combining the NCAA and the NIT, and you were going, "Okay, King, shut the hell up."
I didn't say hell.
It must have been the tequila.
I said, "Shut the F up, man."
You were blaming it on the tequila or something.
3 fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 2 fingers, but 3 fingers tequila.
But the whole point is, I looked at some of the scores, even clear down to the 14s. I think they could cut 16 teams out of that tournament and send them to the NIT, and everything be fine. But anyways, yeah, the emphasis now is going to be the NBA starts the playoffs. So now we can maybe watch 1 quarter before we're going, okay, I'm going to turn this off and see what happens. But your Bulls do get to play on Wednesday night. They have a home game, so we'll see how they do. And I've kind of, growing up there in central Indiana, I used to go to the Pacer games all the time.
Yes.
Back in long time ago, the ABA days.
Oh, man. Bob Nedelicki, Freddie Lewis, Billy Keller, Rick Mount.
So they used to play at the Wigwam.
Darnell Hillman.
They used to play at the Wigwam.
Yeah, so Darnell Hillman was 6'4". His fro was 2 feet, so he was listed as a 7-footer.
Yeah, exactly. But he had some bunnies. He could hop.
He had big time hops.
But I was still.
Hey, I may be on this podcast for another 2 hours if we're talking back to ABA stuff here, man.
But I loved that ABA stuff when they
there's a
come to the
book called
Wigwam
Loose Balls. Have you ever read Loose Balls?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But anyways, keep track of that. We've got we talked about the Masters. We talked about the NCAA tournament.
We got Major League Baseball next week.
Baseball coming up. One of the things I mentioned to some of my friends on that.
You got friends?
2.
I got friends in low places. I know that much.
I know, and I try to associate best I can with you, but worst finishes. God bless Houston. Can you believe? As soon as that game happened and that game was over, and the way they lost it, the last 2 possessions, they couldn't score a bucket. They couldn't get a shot.
I know.
And I thought to myself, okay, this is reminding me a whole lot of Phi Slamma Jamma way back in the day when we saw Valvano running around the floor. And I thought to myself, which loss was worse, the 83 game or this 25 game for Houston? I mean, they've got 2 that were just awful.
Okay, who's the player for NC State that picked the ball out of the air and scored it?
It was number 41, which I thought was pretty cool because that was my number in high school.
This is Lorenzo Charles.
Lorenzo Charles.
Yeah.
He shot the ball.
No, the guard shot the ball, and the shot was short. Charles picked the ball out of the air and
he
scored
caught the air ball and scored.
Yeah, and his first name might not have been Lorenzo, but he ended up being a truck driver and died of a heart attack. I do know that.
Here, your boy Q, always on there. There you go. Thank you, Q.
What's he saying?
He says Lorenzo Charles, and he says, I know you're smarter than you thought you were.
No, my mind. I mean, are you shitting? Are you kidding me? I can't tell you what I had for breakfast, and I can tell you, 1983, Lorenzo Charles scores the bucket.
So Q, I agree with you. 83 was probably worse than that one.
Yes, thanks, Q.
And here's the stinker. I send this text to Jimmy King, and I say, Jimmy, what do you think about this? He goes, you're asking me about bad losses?
Let's give me a TO, Chris Webber.
He says, you're asking me about bad losses, the 2 that we had, the one to Duke and the one against Carolina. So anyways, we'll finish the show with that idea.
Yeah. Hey, listen, great show. Thanks to our guests, the great and talented Allison Hayes and, the young and kid that's battling through a couple of knee surgeries and just, is back playing now, Charlie Gruey. We wish him the best in his recovery. And then obviously the great Scott King cues everything up for us, our sponsors. And as I think about this, I'm thinking we may only have 4 shows left, 4 or 5 shows left.
The rest of this month, probably 3 of them in 3 in May.
Yes. So we got to have the best shows we can, man. You're the best, Patrick. I'm glad to have you back from Mexico.
Got you some Black Sedan music on to finish things up. We will be back here same time, same place.
All right, I got to ask you one question. So did you see any cartel members?
No.
Okay, good.
It was safe. And I'll do a Chamber of Commerce thing. Go to Puerto Vallarta. It's nice.
Okay, man. All right, thank you very much, Scott. You're the best. Until next week.